The following is a paid program brought to you by Mark Evans Media, LLC.
If you focus on these things, then it'll make great improvement in your relationship.
You gotta know why you're standing at the plate. I'm amazed by the number of people who get distracted in life.
The tangible results that we saw, I felt like were immediate.
Every week, how do you get ready to make sure you make the most of your life?
He's very good at helping you through life in general.
Mark Evans offers practical biblical solutions for the problems and pressures in life.
Maybe it's not so much about changing jobs, it might be about making changes in you. Years ago, the long ball hitting ability of a young ball player got the attention of a pro scout, and he was offered a contract. He goes off to his first spring training, and he begins to send wires back home to his mom. Week 1 said, "Dear Mom, I'm hitting 500. These pitchers aren't that tough." Week 2, he said, "Dear Mom, looks like I'll be starting the infield." And then week 3 said, "Dear Mom, today they started throwing curveballs. I'll be home on Friday." You know, a lot of times, life throws you a curveball. And you don't know how to react to it when life throws you curveballs. You get frustrated, you might even get angry, you might even blow up. And so how do you change that? Well, you've got to remember something that's really important. You and I, we're a lot like a tea bag. When we're put in hot water, what's in us is going to come out. And so you got to make sure you're building into you the right qualities, the right character qualities, that in those pressure-packed moments of life, and let's just face it, you have a lot of them in your life, I have a lot of them in my life. I want to make sure that what is in me that comes out is the right kind of stuff. That my reactions build me up and build everybody around me up instead of everybody watching me blow up. See, I think that we really can help you. We can help you to win at life in such a way that you're building into yourself the right disciplines on a daily basis, the right habits that will help you become the kind of person that you want to become.
Come to the church at Rock Creek. We'd love to have you. We take Jesus as He is to people as they are. Sunday mornings, 9, 10:45, and 12:30, and Monday night at 7.
Mark Evans has helped thousands of people be able to move to a more satisfying place personally, spiritually, and professionally. Now is your chance to place your life in a more positive direction. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com to take advantage of Mark's special TV offer. Get Mark Evans' full book, Win at Life Wisdom, 30 Days of Passion, Priority, and Purpose for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, normally $49.95. Also check out his books, audio CDs, and DVDs. Finally, here are the tools to change your life for the better. Now let's recap. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for Mark's special TV offer. Download Mark Evans' entire book, Win at Life Wisdom, for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, plus free shipping. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for details or call 1-800-367-2870.
I'm Mark Evans. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've been teaching through this series, How Do I Lead My Life? And we're asking questions every week, because to get the right answers in life, you've got to be asking the right questions. The question we're looking at today is about people. Why are they that way? Haven't you ever looked at people in your life? They might be people that are close to you, and you wonder, why do they act that way? Why do they say the things they do? Why are they that way? Well, that's what we're going to be learning. How do you deal with those people that are difficult to deal with? Some of them might be family members. Some of them might be people that live with you. How do you deal with people when they're difficult? I'm calling them toxic people. You know those people that they seem always to take more from you than they ever invest in you. And you find yourself drained when you're around them. Take a look at this. I think it'll help you.
Mark Evans has helped thousands of people be able to move to a more satisfying place personally, spiritually, and professionally. Now is your chance to place your life in a more positive direction. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com to take advantage of Mark's special TV offer. Get Mark Evans' full book, Win at Life Wisdom. 30 Days of Passion, Priority, and Purpose for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, normally $49.95. Also check out his books, audio CDs, and DVDs. Finally, here are the tools to change your life for the better. Now let's recap. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for Mark's special TV offer. Download Mark Evans' entire book, Win at Life Wisdom, for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, plus free shipping. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for details or call 1-800-367-2870.
If toxic people were an ingestible substance, if toxic people were a substance that you would ingest, they would come with a very strict warning label on them, with packaging that was very child-proof, so that you would be careful when you're around these toxic people not to get infected with what they've got, so that you wouldn't catch what they have. See, toxic people get in your way, and they can prevent you from leading your life. Back in the series that Greg and I did in the book of Luke, as we walked through Luke, probably 20 weeks ago, 25 weeks ago, I taught a passage that dealt with toxic people. As we're walking through this series, How I Lead My Life, I wanted to revisit that and bring some new thoughts to your mind, because toxic people can get in the way of you leading your life. So right here in the middle of this series, we need to stop and look at our life and say, okay, how is it that people are one of the things that I constantly fight? Especially certain people that have a tendency to try to derail me. Certain people that when I have to interact with them, when I get around them, they somehow have this ability to infect me and cause me not to lead the life that I was created to be. Here's your lead my life lesson. I mean, let's get this out of the way right off the bat here. Your lead my life lesson is this. You don't have time for toxic people, okay? You don't have time for toxic people. They get in the way of you leading your life. So you don't have time for that. And I want to give you permission today. It's okay for you not to have time for them, okay? It is all right. As a matter of fact, it is healthier for you not to have time for them, because toxic people just try to keep you manageable. They just try to keep you manageable. Most of the time, it plays out through little criticisms, passing along their judgments, whatever it takes to keep someone manageable. So you look at people like that in your life, and you're already thinking of people like that in your life, aren't you? People that just try to keep you manageable. You're already thinking about people like that, and you are asking the question, so why are they that way? What causes them to do what they do, act that way toward me? It is likely that toxic people learn their behavior during their own childhood, probably by being exposed to the toxic behavior of other people. So it's just learned. In this message today, I'm going to have you text in questions. Those of you who've been around here for a long time, you know from time to time I've done this, and you can text questions into me that you have about something in this message as I'm dealing with it, because I know everybody in here deals with toxic people on some level. And so you'll have some question that how can you better understand something that fits to your situation? specifically. So there's a number here right there on the screen. Notice this. You text questions to this number. You've got to do the whole number, the 202 area code, everything. You go ahead and make note of that. Write that at the top of your notes or something. 202-580-8910. You can get out your phone. Just make sure it's on silent, please. And you can text me questions, and as they come in, I'll tell you how this works, okay? Back in our control room, they're getting questions, and Greg is helping me today. He feeds questions to me, and as I'm teaching, a question will come up and on the screen, and I may deal with it and just work it into. All right, so this will help you to really scratch the itch that you have when it comes to dealing with toxic people in your life. I want you to know that even the strongest people can find themselves in toxic relationships. But the longer, as a strong person in a toxic relationship, the longer you stay, the more likely you are to become less confident, less decisive, and a more wounded version of the person that you were created to be. See, a more wounded version of the life you were created to lead. Now, let's switch thoughts here for a second. Non-toxic people who stay in toxic relationships never stop trying to make the relationship work. If you're a non-toxic person in a toxic relationship with somebody, you will never stop trying to make the relationship work. Then, when that happens, the toxic person has what they want. And what does a toxic person want more than anything? Control. More than anything, they just want control. And so you have to understand that. So, how do you spot a toxic person? Let me give you some clues here. How do you spot a toxic person? Now, a toxic person in your life, they don't have to have all of these things. Maybe it's just one or two of them in how they relate to you. All right? But here are some keys on how you would spot that person. All right, as they relate to me, they are toxic because of this. Somebody's just texted me in a question. How do I deal with a toxic person who keeps on wanting to come back in my life? We're going to talk about that here in a second. Watch that on the screen. I want that question to come up. How do I deal with a toxic person who keeps on wanting to come back into my life? We're going to get to that in just a little bit. That's going to tell you, all right, this is how you deal with these toxic people, okay? And they're going to constantly, by the way, that toxic person that's always throwing you off, derailing your life, they're going to always try to push their way back in because toxic people tend to be a bully to you. Now, by the way, too, I want to tell you this. A person that is toxic to you may not be toxic to me, okay? It just depends on how that person chooses to relate to you, all right? So, how do you spot a toxic person? Number one is this. Number one, they live by a list of rules. Number one, they live by a list of rules. They have a large list of rules and regulations. It's the ways that they think things need to be done. And this is just how you do things. Russ earlier talked about the yeast of the Pharisees, the infection of the Pharisees, because the Pharisees were the perfect toxic people in the New Testament. In Luke, a particular Pharisee had invited Jesus home for lunch. And Jesus accepted the invitation as an opportunity to try to teach these Pharisees. He entered the home and took his place at the table. And he propped on his left elbow, keeping up with, as was the ancient custom of the day. But, y'all, when Jesus walks into the home, he walks right past the station set up by the Pharisees for hand washing. These people had rules for everything. And they had a rule when you entered their home to have a meal, there was a certain way you were supposed to wash your hands. And if you didn't wash your hands this particular way, I mean, you were like the worst person in the world. This was a tradition that had just taken on a life of its own over a period of time. In Luke 11:38, the Pharisee was shocked and somewhat offended. I want you to underline somewhat offended, okay? That's what a toxic person will do. They'll act like you're offending them because you're not keeping their rule. The Pharisee was shocked and somewhat offended when he saw that Jesus didn't wash up before the meal. You know, y'all, I just kind of think Jesus did that on purpose, okay? You know, he knew that this toxic person, that he was walking into their house, they lived by a list of rules, and he was going to show them, I'm not going to do it your way. See, toxic people, a lot of times they'll say, if you don't do it this way, then it's the wrong way. And Jesus ends up offending the Pharisee because they can't control him. He wasn't manageable. See, the Pharisee would say, do it this way. Wash your hands like this because it's the best for you. A toxic person will say, this is the way you ought to do it because this is really the best for you. Toxic people will always hide behind the defense that they are doing what they do. They are saying what they're saying because I love you, okay? I'm saying this to you because I love you. Or maybe this. Well, you're taking this the wrong way because you're just a little too sensitive. Or toxic people will do this. I know that's what I said, but I didn't mean it like that. You just took it wrong. You know how a toxic person is? They just kind of try to jab because what they're trying to do is they're trying to push as far as they can to test, to make sure they can kind of control you and keep you as manageable as possible. Toxic people, they don't see themselves as toxic. They don't. They don't want to be found out. Somebody's texting a question. This is a great question. What if God has placed you in a toxic person's life to lead them to Him? Okay? Let me tell you something about that. But this is a great question. God is not going to put you in a relationship where somebody else is going to control you and basically put you in somebody else's life when they are going to try to abuse you in some manner so that you can be their missionary. Okay? All right? That is not how God doesn't say, okay, I want you to be abused by this person for a while so that you can lead them to me. Because you're putting yourself in a position to think you can change them, and you can't change them. Okay? And so you've got to remember that. Secondly, how to spot a toxic person. Number one, here's another thing. Number two, they don't do what they say they believe. They don't do what they say they believe. This is the type of toxic person who pushes their rules on everybody else, but they just don't keep them. Look at Matthew 23:3. They don't practice what they preach. They got rules, but they don't like to always put them on themselves. Let's keep going here. Number three. They take people on guilt trips. Toxic people have a tendency to take people on guilt trips. This is a favorite tool of toxic people. They are good at shaming, condemning. They're just good at making you feel bad for them. They're good at making you feel guilty. Look at Luke 11:46. Jesus replied, he said, "And you experts in the law, woe to you, because you load people down." Underline that. Load people down with burdens they can hardly carry, and you yourselves won't lift one finger to help them. Yeah. Here, let's just try this. Do you know anybody that's good at taking people on guilt trips? Come on. Yeah. Okay. All right. Basically, they are saying, if you would just do things differently, then it would be good for me. If you would just do things differently, then it would make my life better. Okay? If you would do things differently, I would like it better. So you should feel bad that I don't like this enough. Who's the best TV person for taking people on guilt trips? Who plays this out? Marie on Everybody Loves Raymond. I mean, this is her, isn't it? This is her. Number 4. Number 4, they regularly find fault. Toxic people regularly find fault. They're nitpicking people. They're judgmental. They're critical of actions. Basically, they pick out what's wrong. Toxic people, they like to take words and dissect them and question them. They're always looking for something beyond the words. They're trying to figure out, all right, so what did you mean? And what am I missing? And what is in between those two words you just said? What is in between those two sentences? And trying to nitpick it all apart until they can try to pull and pull and pull and just, again, what? Control you. Make you manageable. Look at what Matthew says. In Matthew 22, verse 15, the Pharisees went out and laid plans to trap Jesus in his words. They were looking for ways to catch him. You see, toxic people tend to think either it's all good or it's all bad. There's no in between. No in between. It's either all good or all bad. There is absolutely no in between. And they will nitpick it to death to find fault and to try to point it out. And then number 5, they tell you wonderful things about yourself to get what they want from you. Number 5, they tell you wonderful things about yourself to get what they want from you. They want to get their way, y'all. And because they want to get their way, that's why they're toxic. They so want to get their way that they will even go to the extent to tell you wonderful things about yourself to get what they want. Let's go to Proverbs 26, verse 28. Flattery is a form of hatred and wounds cruelly. Circle the word flattery. Here's what I want you to understand about a toxic person many times. Somewhere in the conversation, they flatter you. At the beginning of it or at the end of it, somewhere in the conversation, they try to tell you something really good about yourself so you'll bite on everything else they just said or everything else they're going to say. Okay? In the Bible, Solomon, the wisest man, God said, whoever would live, Solomon said, you better watch out for those people. It's deception at its best. Don't fall for it.
Mark Evans has helped thousands of people be able to move to a more satisfying place personally, spiritually, and professionally. Now is your chance to place your life in a more positive direction. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com to take advantage of Mark's special TV offer. Get Mark Evans' full book, Win at Life Wisdom, 30 Days of Passion, Priority, and Purpose, for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, normally $49.95. Also check out his books, audio CDs, and DVDs. Finally, here are the tools to change your life for the better. Now let's recap. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for Mark's special TV offer. Download Mark Evans' entire book, Winded Life Wisdom, for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, plus free shipping. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for details or call 1-800-367-2870.
Well, I'm sure that you've already thought of somebody in your life that you would classify as a toxic person. And you want to break free from them. You want to break away from them. But every time you try to break away from them, it feels like there's something inside you that is just ripping apart. And so what always happens in a relationship with a toxic person? Typically, you just grab on tighter. And as you grab on tighter, you feel like you're just getting bloodier. I mean, it just keeps ripping at you until finally you're going to realize that what is ripping at you is the relationship itself. That the relationship, because it's toxic in nature, always tears at you, always rips at you. It never helps you. It never builds you up. So I want you to think about what we've learned today. And then join me next week, because we're going to learn some healthy steps that you can take to really break free from that toxic relationship. I'm Pastor Mark Evans. I want to invite you to the church at Rock Creek. If you live here in Central Arkansas, come on and be a part of one of our worship services. We have weekend services, Sundays at 9, 10:45, and 12:30, and Monday night at 7. Our mission statement is simple. Take Jesus as He is to people as they are. We want to help you to learn the Bible in a very practical way, help you to live the life that God's called you to live. Come see us.
Mark Evans has helped thousands of people be able to move to a more satisfying place personally, spiritually, and professionally. Now is your chance to place your life in a more positive direction. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com to take advantage of Mark's special TV offer. Get Mark Evans' full book, Winded Life Wisdom, 30 Days of Passion, Priority, and Purpose, for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, normally $49.95. Also check out his books, audio CDs, and DVDs. Finally, here are the tools to change your life for the better. Now let's recap. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for Mark's special TV offer. Download Mark Evans' entire book, Winded Life Wisdom, for only $10. Receive Part 1 of Mark Evans' Passion DVD series for only $15, plus free shipping. Visit PastorMarkEvans.com for details or call 1-800-367-2870.
I think anybody could get help from Mark Evans. I think that if you're not working towards improving your relationship, then you are losing ground.
I guess the biggest thing Mark's done for me is given me the critical thinking process for business and personal life to make life easier.
Mark Evans is produced by Ron Sherman Productions. That's RonShermanProductions.com. The proceeding was a paid program brought to you by Mark Evans Media, LLC.